Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down a self-made millionaire's actual blueprint for making your first $10,000. I know, that number can feel like a huge, intimidating mountain to climb, but we're going to turn it into a simple three-step process.
Okay, so the first thing you really have to get is this one core idea. Earning serious money isn't some game of chance, it's not about being lucky. It's a skill you can learn, just like playing the guitar or learning to code. And making that first $10,000, well, that's just you proving to yourself that you finally learned it.
So we're going to imagine that scenario. What if you had to start over from absolute scratch? No money, no connections. This is the exact playbook we're going to walk through step by step. So let's get into it.
Look, that first 10K, it's a beast. It's always the hardest part. And here's why it's so important. This isn't just about the money. It's about proving to yourself that you can do it. It builds the confidence and the systems you need to create wealth out of thin air. It's the foundation you can build on over and over again.
Before you even think about earning, you have to pick your vehicle. And this is where so many people trip up right at the start. They hear about crypto or day trading and jump in without any capital. But when you're starting from zero, there are really only four main paths. And the one you choose is going to determine how fast you get there.
Okay, so let's break this down. You can see the four main roads here. In-person stuff, like dog walking, gets you cash super fast with almost no startup cost. But you can only walk so many dogs, right? It doesn't scale. On the other end, you have global products. You can scale those to the moon, but it takes a ton of cash up front and a lot of patience because you're always just reinvesting your profits back into more inventory.
In this right here, this is the real kicker. When you sell products, your profit margins are pretty thin, maybe 20 to 30%. And like we said, that cash gets tied up in restocking. But with services, you're looking at insane 70 to 80% margins that go directly into your bank account. So, the winner is clear: online services. They give you the crazy high margins of a service with the global reach of a product. It is by far the fastest path to 10 grand.
All right, so we've picked our path: online services. Awesome. But how do you actually turn that into a high-income machine? How do you make sure people will pay you what you're worth? Well, that's where this framework called the skill pyramid comes into play. Let's take a look.
Now, get this. You have to master these four things, and you have to do them in this exact order. This is the secret sauce for turning a simple skill you already have into a reliable business that actually makes money. You skip one, and you're going to stay stuck, working way too hard for way too little.
So step one is positioning. And it's not about learning a million new skills. It's about taking a skill you already have and aiming it where people are already spending money. And you know who's always spending money? Businesses. They have problems that never go away. They always need more customers, better marketing, more sales. So think about it. Instead of editing videos for a small YouTuber who can barely afford to pay you, you offer the exact same skill to an entrepreneur who knows that great videos mean more sales. You go where the money's already flowing.
Next up is leverage. And this right here, this is a total game changer. If you charge by the hour, you're getting paid for your effort, and your client's goal is always going to be to pay for as few hours as possible. But if you charge for the value, for the results you get them, now you're getting paid for the outcome. All of a sudden, they're not thinking about your hourly rate, they're thinking about the thousands of dollars in profit you're bringing into their business.
And that really boils down to this one simple shift in how you talk about what you do. When you can prove that your work isn't just a cost, but an investment that brings them a return, everything changes. That's what separates a struggling freelancer from a highly paid partner. The third element is reach. You know, most people think getting clients means you have to go out and hunt them down, right? Cold emails, constant chasing. Nope. The real secret is to become the flower that attracts the bees. You have to start putting your work out there online from day one. There's this great story about a graphic designer who was just posting his work on TikTok for fun, and suddenly his inbox just exploded with paying clients. You have to put your work out in public because you truly never know who's watching. And finally, the last piece of the pyramid is automation. And honestly, it's the one most people just completely ignore. But it's not really about fancy software. It's about one simple thing: reliability. The highest paid people in any field are not always the most talented, they're the most organized and dependable. They hit every deadline. They communicate clearly. They make it easy to work with them. Being reliable is the secret weapon that gets you hired again and again and again.
Okay, so you did it. You followed the pyramid, you put in the work, and bam, you've got your first $10,000. That is huge. Seriously, congratulations. But, and this is a big but, The real work is just getting started. Now you have to make a shift from an earner's mindset to a wealthy mindset.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? That first chunk of money isn't for a new watch or a fancy vacation. Not yet. Right now, that money is fuel. It's the seed you're going to use to grow a whole forest. So, how do we do that? Let's look at a super simple framework.
Let's think of this as a simple 4-rung investment ladder. We're going to start at the very bottom with the safest foundation and work our way up to the riskier stuff.
The very bottom rung, your absolute foundation, is a high-yield savings account. Now look, you're not going to get rich off this. That's not the point. This is your oh crap fund. This is the cash buffer that lets you handle an emergency without having to panic sell your other investments at the worst possible time. It's all about stability. Okay, next step up the ladder. Index funds. This is where the magic of compounding really starts to kick in. Just take the S&P 500. That's basically a basket of the 500 biggest, most successful companies in the US. Over the last decade, it's returned over 10% a year on average. It's a simple, proven, low-maintenance way to build real wealth over time.
Rung 3 gets a little spicier. Individual stocks. Yeah, it's higher risk, for sure. But think of it as paying for an education. When you invest in individual companies, it forces you to dig in, to read financial reports, and to really understand what makes a business tick. It's an incredible learning tool.
And then, at the very, very top of the ladder, you've got crypto. This is the high wire act. The potential rewards can be absolutely insane, but the potential to lose it all is just as real. This is an area you approach with a ton of caution, a ton of research, and only with money you are 100% prepared to lose. So there you have it, the whole playbook. A clear roadmap from zero to your first $10,000, and then a plan to turn that income into actual long-term wealth. We've gone from choosing your path, to mastering the skill pyramid, to climbing the investment ladder. The entire strategy is laid out right here. So the only question left is, what's your first step?